Hey YouTube, it's Faye, and for today's video, check this out.
I wouldn't recommend, a lot of people cut the hole in their trunk. I don't know how I feel about that. I wouldn't recommend it as some of the bad stuff that I've done. It's really not that big of a deal to drop the tank. Unless for some reason you can't, I really would recommend just dropping the tank.
I'm one of those, a lot of people, but let me explain why. If you have a Mark III Supra and your fuel pump is still stock, then it's well over 30 years old at this point. And when do old, tired fuel pumps die? Right after you fill up your tank, right? And there's a reason for that. Fuel both cools and lubricates your fuel pump. So if you're one of those people that's always running the tank on empty, then you're constantly overheating the pump, or at least running it at the extreme temperature that it's allowed in its acceptable use range, right? So if you're constantly running it on E, or you just ran it on empty this one last time, and then you fill the tank with fresh, cold fuel that's been sitting in the ground, it shocks the fuel pump and the fuel pump dies. So you've got an old project car, you just filled up at a gas station, and let's say you're on your way to an event or a show, or you're going far away from home to get parts, and you're broke as shit, so you don't have AAA. The last thing you want to do is drop your fuel tank at a random gas station to replace the pump or pay for a very expensive tow home. So yeah, I cut a hole in my trunk, but I don't know. I think it looks good and it's functional, and I'm glad that I did it. So let me show it to you a little bit closer. Okay, so here it is, and you can see that it does actually look like the shape of the trunk of the Mark III Supra. That's because I actually used the floor of my 88 to create this mold out of fiberglass. And then I drilled holes and added nutserts so that it could bolt into place. Now it's a very particular shape, and that is because if you still have the factory metal fuel lines, this is just enough room for you to be able to pull everything up and put everything back into place. And there's quite a bit of overlap here, obviously, to support the bolts. The cover is much larger than it needs to be, just so there is like that overlap for the gasket to seal and keep out any exhaust fumes or keep out any road noise or whatever. Let me take this off and show you what's underneath. So there you can see I still have the factory fuel lines. This one that's disconnected is my vent. I have the vent plugged because instead I have a hole in my gas cap that is a State 48 Performance Fab mod that I think is kind of funny. Fuel pump relay, but still, see, now everything is accessible from the trunk. Freddie does mention in his video that his car is obviously from the Northeast. Mine is from California originally. He had a lot of rust, so he did have to change all of this out, and he changed his fuel lines. But these fuel lines support more than enough power for me, and so I just didn't feel the need to change them because everything I have is in good shape. So that is the hole that I cut in my trunk to get to my fuel pump. Usually when it comes to modifying our Supras or cars in general, I'm normally the one that's like super by the book. Like, what does the official repair manual say? I'm gonna do it that way. I'm gonna do everything perfectly. I'm gonna torque everything to spec. And Freddie's the one that does things a little bit more questionably to my standards. So to have him disapprove of one of the modifications I've made is, this is a rare thing. It needs to be documented. Also, if you don't follow Poor Man Mods, he is one of the original Supra content creators here on YouTube, and he was the first Supra channel I subscribed to over a decade ago. He has a lot of content up on his Mark III as well, and 1JZ stuff, which obviously I do not have. So definitely give him some support. I'll link his channel in the description below. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this short little video today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!